is Anna and Thomas. They study at the university. They both think that it is exciting to immerse themselves into studies that interest them, but they also experience that their studies are challenging. Thomas's study group is well functioning. Nevertheless, he is often worried whether the other students in the group think he is good enough. Thomas doesn't want to ask too many questions because he's afraid of seeming stupid. Actually, he often chooses the easy way to avoid challenges. Thomas's situation and feeling towards the study group is not uncommon. Many students imagine that intelligence and therefore also the ability to be a good student is static. When you have these views on intelligence, it can be hard to overcome challenges and admit that some things don't come as easy to you as you wished they would. Perceiving intelligence as being static actually prevents many students from developing. Neuroscience has proved that our brain is highly plastic and that intelligence and the ability to become a good student is not a predefined characteristic. It is natural to think that others are better than yourself, but instead of feeling threatened, you can benefit from focusing on what you can learn from these people. You are actually learning the most when you challenge your brain by trying something new and believe that you can achieve your goals. Anna has always been a bit of a perfectionist. She gets high grades and always spends a lot of time on her studies. In spite of her good grades, Anna often feels that she's not doing a good enough job. Anna does not share her feelings with others in fear that her fellow students might think that she is a weak person. She just wants them to think that she is performing well. Many students feel like Anna. Everything has to be perfect. The fact that many students feel like Anna is strongly connected to the extensive focus on testing and grading in our education system. We experience special interest and recognition from our surroundings when we achieve high grades. Perfectionism is affecting many students, and maybe you recognize Anna's reactional patterns in yourself. But why is it so hard to turn your back on perfectionism? Our brain is working in a way where the things that we practice and focus on develop certain areas in the brain. Here the brain creates new connections. The more connections the brain creates, the better we become at the particular thing we practice. This means that the more you focus on everything having to be perfect, the more your brain will support this view because the connections concerning this thought pattern will be stronger. But research into the plasticity of the brain has shown that if you consciously practice putting perfectionism aside, this will be stored in the brain as new knowledge and create new connections, replacing the old perfectionistic connections. In Thomas's study group, there is one student in particular, Mike, who Thomas thinks seems very intelligent. Therefore, Thomas was startled when Mike at a group meeting shared with the others that he needed help understanding some theory. Mike's honesty about his challenges helped Thomas a lot, and it motivated him to open up to his group and explained how he also found the literature hard to understand. At a career fair at the university, Anna listened to a presentation on education and labor market opportunities. During the presentation, the career counsel said that the labor market doesn't expect perfect candidates, but people who are engaged and learns from the mistakes they are bound to make at some point. Anna approached the career counselor at the presentation to hear more. He explained to Anna that wanting to do an amazing job of course is a strength, but there's a major difference between being a perfectionist and being ambitious. The major difference is characterized by the way the ambitious student enjoys the work and reacts positively on counseling and feedback. Opposite, the perfectionist pushes herself with hard and critical judgments, is very negative concerning her own performance and has a hard time seeking out and receiving counseling and feedback. One thing that Thomas's and Anna's stories have in common is that both of them gained a new perspective on studying. They are now aware that the way they used to study has been stressful to them and caused them to not enjoy their studies, and it affected their learning processes negatively. Anna has been working on her perfectionism. Anna has been talking to her tutor about how she has a hard time sending her text to peers for feedback because she never knows if her text is good enough. Together, they have been working towards a new approach, where Anna perceived the feedback sessions as a process rather than a situation where she is judged. Thomas has been working with his views on himself. He has realized that he learns more efficiently when he's interacting with other students, and is not so hesitant being honest, even though it can lead to occasionally asking the stupid questions that no one dares to ask. Being a good student is not a static and defined status that is characterized by the ability to say intelligent things and get the highest grades. A good student is conscious about how optimal learning is highly connected to the process one goes throughout the semester rather than the result at the final exam. The key is to learn how to receive and seek out feedback and inspiration from peers, tutors, and counselors. A good student must dare to try new things, take up challenges, and not be afraid to make mistakes.